Good evening, everyone, or good afternoon, or good morning, wherever you're watching us from around the world. Thanks for joining us. You are one of our admitted student panels that we've been holding through the month of April. I'm your host. My name is Chris O'Brien. I'm Associate Director of Admissions. And you see these wonderful people that are joining me on this call. These are real live Boston College students that have given up a snippet of their very valuable Wednesday night to join you to talk about life at Boston College. If you're tuning in tonight, you've been accepted at Boston College. Pretty cool. That wasn't so easy. And if you haven't decided yet, you're doing programs like this in order to help you understand Boston College and how we're unique and different. And you want to learn from real life Boston College students about what life is like. If you have decided yet, you're doing a victory lap and you're super psyched. And now you're just making an excuse to meet some really cool people at Boston College, but also get some valuable information about an aspect of life that everyone pretty much at Boston College takes advantage of, and that's residential life. We have very few commuters at Boston College, even though that is an option for some local people. Just about everybody who goes to school at Boston College will take advantage of our residence life opportunities. Most for 3 years, many for 4 years. We hope that students enjoy their time on campus, and we put a lot of time and energy and have some great personnel to ensure that that time on campus is valuable for our students and creates a lot of memories for our students. Along with it, we try to provide the amenities that are important. We have a pretty cool gym. I mean, a really cool gym. We provide opportunities for students to eat. We have an infirmary for students when they're sick. So we do a lot of things in terms of the community to make sure that students have what they need on campus and also feel empowered to use the resources around our neighborhood and the city to make sure that their experience in our area is complete. Tonight, we're going to talk about residence life. We're going to talk, we used to call them dorms. And, that was when I went in college. And I know enough about college terms that dorms imply sleeping, and sleeping is just one of the many wonderful things that you can do in a residence hall. Residence halls have a lot to do with friendships and programming and conversations, academic growth, et cetera. So we're going to talk about all that goes into living in a residence hall at Boston College, from the decision to come to Boston College and some of the things that our students to do to prepare for it, how living happens, what are the X's and O's, what are the technical parts of living on campus, how students progress through campus living for 4 years, freshman year, traditional style, sophomore, junior, senior year, maybe apartment and suite style, how students handle some of the security issues and some of the sharing issues and how they find roommates. We want to cover all that tonight. So our experts are real live residents at Boston College. So I'm going to have them introduce themselves, and generally, because we're not all in the same room, and we certainly hope that you can join us in the same room very soon if you haven't done it already, and come to Boston College as many times as you can. We're going to have them introduce themselves, and if you can, we'll go in alphabetical order of first name. So Angie, you got this covered. So it's who you are and where you're from and what you study and what year you are. And then tell us where you lived in your first year. Tell us about maybe what was the biggest surprise of living on campus, especially in your first year. And we'll do that exercise. And then I have a bunch of questions that I'm going to ask you guys. So, and then if we have time, we'll take some questions from the viewers. I'm sure they have a lot of questions about what their life might be like on campus. So Angie, if you got the instructions, get us started.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Angie. I'm from Westfield, New Jersey. I'm a sophomore here at Boston College. I'm studying English in the Morrissey College of Arts and Science with a minor in finance in the Carroll School of Management. It was a little unconventional. I lived in Williams Hall on College Road my freshman year. And it's unconventional because most freshmen live either in upper campus or satellite campus Newton, but because of COVID, we all have to spread out. So I kind of moved into sophomore housing. I was with upperclassmen guys. One of the things I was most surprised about living on campus my freshman year was, first of all, the closet space. I have 5 older siblings who've all gone to different colleges, and their closets freshman year were minuscule, and I have a lot of clothes. So I was actually really surprised by like how much room and space I had. And another thing I was surprised about was like how much we hung out like all together as a dorm, being that we were like mostly surrounded by upper classmate at the time. I have most of my friends I made my freshman year were from the basement of my dorm, just like hanging out. There's a big TV down there, a pool table, a ping pong table, and just like little areas that you can just kind of gather and just hang out with friends.
And Angie, before I move on to the next, our next panelist, you talked about the closet space. Did you bring a lot of clothes?
I did. I actually did. My mom was like really scared my freshman year. She's like, "You're gonna get sent home. Don't bring a lot." But I can't not travel with all my stuff.
Okay. I mean, this isn't Dr. Phil, so we don't have to have that kind of conversation about like bringing everything you own to every place you go. But I'm sure there was a rhyme and reason to it. Well, I'm sure we'll get to it as the time goes on. All right. Thanks, Angie. You got to start it well. Charlie, same question. Let's hear a little bit about you and where you lived your freshman year. And again, maybe a surprise of what you found when you moved in and got to living on campus.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Charlie Fackler. I'm a junior studying accounting and business analytics in the Carroll School of Management, and I'm from Hershey, Pennsylvania. My freshman year, I lived in Gonzaga Hall on upper campus. And I think the thing that was definitely a big adjustment for me was that whole experience of the communal bathrooms. I wasn't sure what to expect with it all, particularly being on a floor with like 60 other freshman guys. I was kind of just a little bit like, okay, what's going to happen here? But I think one of the things that really was a very pleasant surprise is the phenomenal facility staff we have who puts in a lot of time every single day to keep those bathrooms in good shape, which again, with 60 guys using one large communal bathroom, I'm sure was a lot of work for them. And so lots of respect for them and all that they do for us.
What did you do to be prepared for a communal bathroom with, having a bathroom not in your room? So you have to travel and you have to bring like, what kind of things does everybody need to do to prepare for that? What kind of things do you have to purchase, prepare for? How do you use a communal bathroom? What should people do?
Biggest one is definitely shower shoes and a shower caddy. Just so that you can be able to carry stuff back and forth, etc. And then the shower shoes, just because again, with so many people using those communal bathrooms, I would not recommend standing in them with bare feet. Some people do opt to make that choice and do that. I question it, but to each their own. And so I think those are the two biggest items to be prepared with.
But is it like if I go there and I don't have toothpaste or it's all run out, like can I lean over to you and be like, "Hey, bud, do you have some toothpaste?" Like, is there a communal vibe in there, like when it comes to that?
Not with that sort of stuff. I would say you generally do need to bring all your own stuff. And so making sure you have the essentials, toothbrush, toothpaste, everything that you would need.
I mean, I wasn't asking to borrow a toothbrush. I understand why you might be a little bit, but a toothpaste, you wouldn't even help me like with some toothpaste?
Maybe, depends on how well I know you.
All right. To be continued. Maybe we stumbled upon something with Charlie too. Fran, let's hear a little bit about you. And again, maybe your biggest surprise that you encountered as you moved in and got used to living in campus housing.
Absolutely, Chris. All right, guys. Hey, I'm Fran Hodgins. I am from Hopedale, Massachusetts, so not too far from campus. I'm a sophomore in the Carroll School of Management, and just like Charlie, actually, I'm studying accounting and business analytics. And I also lived in Gonzaga Hall freshman year. I lived in a quad, so I had 3 roommates, although freshmen typically live in rooms with just 1 roommate. I would say the biggest surprise for me was coming into school. I have 3 older siblings who all went to a school that also did not have air-conditioned residence halls for freshman year. So I was prepared for the worst. They told me these horror stories, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. The first few weeks seemed like they're going to be really hot. So I guess what surprised me was I never really was that hot. Maybe it was just my roommates being pretty cool like me. Or maybe it was the fan in the window that we kept going 24/7. But even without air conditioning in our freshman year residence halls, I found them to be pretty comfortable all times of year.
I mean, that's a good example of sort of how you guys must have communicated in terms of, I mean, if everybody was hot, like, do we want the fan in the window? Is it too much on you? Like, I'm sure there were some conversations about just the temp, I mean, an easy one, like the temperature in the room, that must have got like the ball rolling in terms of you guys being on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. We all had to bring our favorite fan. And so we didn't want to bring 3 window fans, so we had to coordinate that. And it all worked out.
See, now if you went to school in Quebec, you might not have ever needed a fan. So, I mean, such good fortune that you went to school in Boston. That makes total sense.
Great point, Chris.
Thanks, Fran. We'll get back to you. And hitting cleanup, last but not least, Theresa, let's hear a little bit about you. And then again, maybe the biggest surprise adjustment to moving on campus a couple years ago.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Chris. Hi, everyone. My name is Theresa Nestow, and I'm a sophomore from Silver Spring, Maryland. I'm studying elementary education and applied psychology and human development in the Lynch School of Education and Human Development. And I would say the biggest surprise moving into Boston College and into residential life was how many friends I would make in our communal bathroom freshman year. And this sounds really weird. I know it does, but it's really, really true. Having a communal bathroom is definitely scary, especially when you're sharing it, like Charlie said, with so many other freshmen, especially freshman girls. But it was such a great opportunity, especially during COVID last year, to make friends while brushing our teeth or waiting for the showers. And I really was able to break the ice with a lot of the girls on my floor in the bathroom, get to know them, get to know how their classes were going. And I felt like it was this great communal space of, even with COVID, if we couldn't always see each other and hang out, it was a nice space to meet each other. And I still say hi to a lot of the girls on my floor.
So the point here is that because you have to leave your room, maybe you're that much more apt to leave your door open. You're walking back and forth to the bathroom. You're walking by open doors. You're walking by see people. I like it, just whether it's in the bathroom or on the walk to the bathroom. Like, it just seems like it just is conducive to saying hi and stopping by and checking in, and that's how you sort of make all the friends in your hall. Perfect. That without having to go into the shower or the sharing of toothbrushes, like Charlie said, just having doors open and living in a hall with a lot of people, it's a great excuse to meet a lot of people. Perfect, Theresa. Theresa, you're going to start the discussion about roommates. Now, for a lot of students who have committed to Boston College, and for some that are still waiting, the big question is, all right, I'm going to have to live with someone. And maybe a lot of people out here haven't never lived with someone in their room. Maybe they've never shared space. Maybe they've never shared, period. So you have to get a roommate, and you have to go through a process by which you determine who that roommate will be. And a couple of you may have gone through different processes to find a roommate. Tell us a little bit about what you decided to do to find someone to live with in your first year.
Definitely. So I chose Boston College the last day before you had to put in your deposit. So I was like very last minute making my final decision. And when I chose Boston College and submitted my deposit, I joined the Boston College freshman Facebook group. And on this Facebook group, you do a little bit of online dating sometimes for roommates. So you post a little blurb about yourself, what you like to do, favorite TV shows, favorite snacks, and people will comment underneath. And so my freshman year roommate and my current roommate now, and I met through this Facebook group. So I would say, piece of advice, if you've committed to Boston College, join that Facebook group, start meeting some friends, potential roommates. But if that doesn't sound like it's a good option for you, there is an online survey that you can submit as you're submitting your housing application. So these ask all the questions that you need to know when you're looking for a roommate, right? How clean are you? When do you get up? When do you want to go to bed? And they'll pair you with someone who's very, very similarly to you. So those are really the two ways that you can find your roommate freshman year. And as Fran was mentioning, I lived in a double my freshman year, so just me and my direct roommate, but you can live in triples or quads your freshman year. So you might have one roommate, 2, 3, and you can find them through the Facebook or that survey.
Do any of the three of you have a different path? Theresa went one path. Did any of you have a different path?
I didn't necessarily have a different path, but just something on like kind of note on that survey, right? They ask you some pretty important questions about like who you are as like a person who lives in a space. And I think my biggest piece of advice in that is to be honest about who you are in the moment you're filling out that survey, not who is my ideal college self gonna be freshman year. Like, I'm gonna get up at like 7:30 in the morning every day, go to bed by 9. It's like, if your habit is that you wake up at 10 a.m. and go to sleep at 2 a.m., be honest in that, because that will kind of go a lot better for everyone. Either A, if you're using that survey to figure out who you want to live with, or B, come the time, if you're choosing to go random, that you, when Res Life uses that survey to match you with someone who has somewhat similar habits, that way you are being matched with someone with a similar living style.
Well, and let's like, like Angie, like, do you use your room as like quieter space or study space, or is it more like social space? And is that something that you talk to your roommate about pretty quickly and establish sort of like the ground rules of how the space is going to be used?
Yeah, so I have a similar process to Teresa in the fact that I met my roommate through the Facebook group, and we started kind of like texting each other, and we kind of really talked about, like, before even deciding to like be roommates with each other, like kind of what we both, like how we both lived in our space, kind of similar to what Charlie said. Like, we were both really honest with each other, and it just like happened that we were both really similar, because I tend to use my room more for like study space and quiet time, but also just for like watching TikToks on my bed. And my roommate tends to use it more for like social time than academic time. So it kind of like, if she decides that she wants to do like quiet time in the room and I want to do social time, like I can move out to a common room where I put in my headphones, and like it just is, it's a lot of like communication and a lot of open communication. You got to be like truthful and honest with yourself about like what you want to, how you want to use your space.
Fran, you talked about bringing a fan, and that was probably more out of necessity or more than anything else. But did you notice that there were things that you didn't bring that you really needed to bring, and sort of conversely, were the things that you brought that you never used or had no use for in your freshman year?
Yeah, great question. I would say one thing that I brought that this is like a twist on the question. I brought a hard shower caddy. Like, if you went to Target and you said to the employee, I want a shower caddy, and it's like this big, like hard plastic bin. And that sounds great, but it's kind of difficult to maneuver around, and it doesn't really store well. My roommate was really ahead of the game, and he had one of those soft mesh ones that you can hang up, because you can always bring hangers, command hooks or something I didn't bring. Definitely bring those to answer your question. But the soft mesh shower caddy is definitely really good, because then when you're in the shower, you can hang it instead of putting your bin caddy on the floor. I guess it's sort of niche, but I don't know. My mom was convinced that I needed this big fat bin for all of my stuff, whereas I could have just had like a little carry bag.
What about moving in? Theresa, how was it moving in? Was it like tears, sweat, chaos? Was it fun, exciting? Do you remember what it was like?
Oh my gosh, I was so nervous to move in. Last year for COVID, we all had to be tested before we moved in, so that added another little element to the move-in process. But my roommate had already moved into the dorm, so I not only was meeting her for the first time, but moving all of my stuff in, saying bye to my parents. It was the second time I'd ever been on Boston College's campus too, so I was definitely feeling overwhelmed. But the move-in process and that day in general is just a whole flurry of chaos, and you kind of just have to embrace it. People just grabbed all my stuff, brought it up to my room. I would definitely say label all of your bins, label all of your bags, put your name on it and your room number, just so if something gets lost in the shuffle, like you'll be able to find it, and just go with the flow. Hug your parents. Parents are gonna love that I'm saying this around, but like take time to spend with your parents, because it's going to be a little bit until you see them again. So let your mom take a cringy picture of you and like hug your dad goodbye, because those are the moments that you're going to remember later on throughout the semester.
Great advice. And I can relate, everybody can relate to who went through the college move-in process. That's totally what it's like. Well, one benefit of having this conversation with these 4 students is that we're honored with having the great leadership and responsibility of a resident assistant joining us. Charlie has been a resident assistant for 2 years. And for many people who know sort of the glossary of terms around college, a resident assistant, for some people, it sounds terrible. But the reality is that a resident assistant is what makes that whole thing work. And we hope at Boston College that resident assistant is an example of how work should get done at Boston College, and really what a place where a student can go and find resources and get help and find space so they can be themselves. So we got an RA with us. So we hope that an RA quickly establishes their place on the campus, on the hall. So tell us a little bit about the role of an RA as you see it, Charlie, and how important, especially for a first-year student, the role of an RA should be.
Yeah, so I would say the biggest role of an RA in particular, particularly in the first year area, is being a community builder. And so a lot of what that looks like is you'll probably see a lot of RAs on the floor, in particular during move-in, because we are moving around, trying to get to know people, trying to just talk and be like, hey, I am your RA, and really having an open door and kind of just being like, I'm here right now. And then as the semester moves on, a big aspect of the role that RAs do is through programming. And so we plan a variety of different events. One of the popular ones I had last year was we had in our room that has a bunch of different stuff for us to use for programs. We had a plastic children's bowling set. And so I did a little bowling tournament in the middle of our hall. And so just kind of planning fun events like that. There's almost always free food because RAs are given a budget every year in order to plan programs that have, either prizes or food, etc. And so there's always something going on. And in the first year community, those are called hoots, which stands for hanging out on Tuesdays. So traditionally they happen on Tuesdays at 10 p.m. In the first month in September, there's one that happens every single week. And then in October, November, it's every other week.
And I would think there's also two other purposes that you serve other than programming. One is if someone knocks on your door and says, I have a 52 in organic chemistry. I don't know where to get academic help, or I don't know where to get other help. So I'm sure you serve that role. And then I think a lot of other people equate your role with discipline. Someone has a bonfire in their room, someone has a puppy, and you have to say, well, listen, there are some rules that are in this building and you can't do those things. And hopefully it doesn't escalate to the point where you have to write them up, but sometimes you have to enforce the rules that make everybody in the community work well together. So if you can comment just real quickly on sort of those two other roles that an RA should serve as.
Yeah, so RAs are also a big resource person. And so we end up coming in about a week and a half before everyone else moves in. And we go through training every single day that we're there. And a lot of it is educating us on the resources that are available so that we can at least kind of have that base knowledge of, if Fran is my resident and he says I'm failing calculus, what do I do? Then I can kind of be like, okay, let's work it through. Have you gone to office hours? Have you sought out academic advising? Have you gone to the Connors Family Learning Center where they have tutors? And so offering up a way to get to those resources. So frequently it'll kind of be like talking through and saying, I have some resources. Let me send you an email with them so you can have these all in one place, making sure that it's also something that you can continually refer back to. And then the other aspect of being an RA is also, we do have a student code of conduct. And so part of our role is the sort of enforcement of those policies. Most of the time with RAs, we don't want to write people up or document them, as we say. And so it'll look like a conversation. If Theresa and her roommates are being incredibly loud, we'll just kind of knock on the door and be like, hey, it's quiet hours. Just need y'all to quiet down. And then if it doesn't, and then we kind of say, we'll be back on another round in 2 hours. If it's not quieted down by then we'll kind of have a little bit of a different conversation in this moment. The big thing to know with that is also, if something happens, if there's an emergency, there are RAs that are on duty every single night from 8 p.m. until 7 a.m. I'm on duty right now. I get to carry this very stylish little flip phone that is posted everywhere in the buildings so that residents can call and get help if they need it.
Great. That's important, Charlie. I appreciate it. And good for you to single Theresa out about her loud friends. Thank you for using this venue to do that. The big issue that we confront when it comes to first year housing is that there are two campuses where freshmen live. And we all know how this conversation is going to go. We have what we call the Newton campus and what we call the upper campus. And, the camps are divided about which one is better. It's a very, we think, friendly and constructive rivalry on campus. Fran, I'm going to turn to you. I know that you're a resident of one, and while you may have disdain for the other, you respect residents of the other, but maybe you can talk a little bit about the relationship of the two, if there is one. And even though you're a member of one, can you find some part of you that can talk about the value of the other part of campus?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I lived on upper campus in Gonzaga Hall, but that doesn't mean that I spent 100% of my time on upper campus. So I would hop on the bus to Newton. It's only about a 5, maybe 7-minute ride to Newton campus because Newton is home to our lacrosse, field hockey, and soccer fields. So I spent many nights going with my friends from upper campus out to Newton campus, and we would attend lacrosse games, go BC women's lacrosse, or even soccer games. And then afterward might hang out in the dorms or the residence halls on Newton campus. Newton campus is a really unique culture. They're fiercely protective of the Newton culture. So because it's all freshmen on that campus who are living there, they're always more than happy to tell you what a great community they have. And they like to say that they have the best food on campus, although I would say not so sure about that as an upper resident. But yeah, there's a great community on Newton campus, and the girls who live down the hall from me this year actually all lived on Newton campus, and they don't let us forget it. So it's something that sort of stays with you. There's friendly rivalry that continues through all 4 years at Boston College, but I would say that people who lived on Newton really, really loved Newton. People who lived on upper are still partial to upper.
And just real quickly, Fran, what about that bus? Is the bus is it just like a social scene? Is it like no one talks and everyone has to look at their phone and awkwardly wait for the time to be like, what's the bus like?
Great question. So the Newton residents love to say that the bus is where they meet all their best friends. So they bond when they have to trek to the bus and wait at the bus stop in the morning. Although they all seem to think that it was never as bad as people like to make it seem. The buses run from early in the morning until 2 a.m. Then after 2 a.m., if you still are on the wrong campus, you can always call and BC will send a van out to bring you to where you need to be. Yeah, I would say that Newton residents like to say that they met some of their best friends on the bus, or they really bonded with them on their way to class because they would be spending the same time with their little commute from one campus to the other each morning getting to class.
If I remember, the only member of this panel that was a Newton resident was you, Charlie, right?
Yes.
So can you confirm the things that Fran said? Would you like to refute any of those points?
No, I can confirm it all. I would say I would refute Fran's point about saying that maybe Upper has better food, because Stu, absolutely, the dining hall on Newton has the best food. I have no doubt about it, because the Newton campus is also home to the law school, and so particularly the lunches there, I feel like BC Dining steps up their game for the law students, and we really get to benefit from that when you live on the Newton campus. And so I have had the pleasure of living on both campuses. Lived on Upper my freshman year. Last year as an RA, I lived on Newton, and I would say the sense of community on Newton is definitely something that struck home with me after, working as an RA there, but seeing how tight the floor came and across all the residence halls. I know Right now, I have residents who just about everyone in their suite lived in the same freshman residence hall on the Newton campus. And they all live together now. So lots of tight community on Newton.
Great. That's great to hear. So Angie, when you said that you brought all these clothes to campus, I said, when it comes to like the laundry question, you might be a good person to ask with all these clothes in your closet. So how's your laundry game?
I have it down to a science. I really do. It with all these clothes, I kind of have to. You have to pick your times very carefully. Sunday afternoons, don't even think about it. Don't even think about it. Everyone's down there. But if you can catch the laundry room at like a 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, or even I found a Saturday night completely empty. Completely empty. And each residence hall has a laundry room in the basement, and there's like 10 or so washers and dryers just like at your ready, but you just got to pick the time right and you're golden.
Well, I mean, Angie, I want you doing something else other than laundry on Saturday night. Like, you don't do it every Saturday night. Can we work on that?
No, I do. It's not every Saturday night.
You don't say
like,
to people, listen, I can't do that. I can't go out. I can't go to the game. It's the prime time to do laundry. Like,
I have one time. I did forego plans because I wanted to read a book and do my laundry.
well, if you didn't bring so many clothes, you probably wouldn't have to do it on Saturday night. See what the problem is?
I guess, but then I look great every day of school because I have all my clothes.
No doubt. No doubt, Angie. Good point. Theresa, obviously with all these very important, very valuable people on campus, there needs to be some sense of security, both on campus and in the building. So can you talk a little bit about how safe you feel on campus? And I think safe in a general sense, like inside of the Chestnut Hill campus, but when you're home, when you're in your room, in your building, like, do you feel secure and safe? Does your stuff feel secure and safe? Can you talk a little bit about your safety on campus?
Definitely. This would have been my dad's favorite question. He definitely on every college tour was asking about college in-campus safety. And I honestly have felt very safe and comfortable on campus, particularly starting with those buses that Fran was mentioning. In all of the bus stops on campus, we have a blue light system, and this is a safety system on campus. So if you ever feel unsafe or unwell, you can press the button in the blue light machine and a BC police officer will come to your location and help you out. So that's just one of the many resources on campus to support you. I really like this service because we have an open campus. We're not a closed campus. So that provides some extra security. And then Fran was mentioning those vans that can come and pick you up. They're running 24/7 and they'll pick up students. We have some numbers in the back of our student IDs as well, which are really great resources. So I have mine. All students get these BC IDs, and on the back, we have numbers to BC Police Department, University Counseling Services, Health Services if you get sick. And then that Eagle Escort service is that bus and van system that you can call at any time. Specifically in my freshman dorm, I really liked that you have to use your BC ID to scan into your building and then also scan into your dorm room. And so that's kind of 2 layers of security. Only people that live in the building can scan into your building. And then when you're getting into your room, you have to type in a code to get in. So I felt like my stuff was very secure and very safe throughout the entire year.
Okay. We talked mostly about freshman housing, and that's the most immediate concern of the viewers tonight. But life gets different as you move through the housing process at Boston College. So Angie, talk a little bit about what's next. You do your time in your 11 by 17 cell in Newton or an upper campus, and then where do sophomores go? Where do juniors go? Where do seniors go?
Yes. So the rest of your time, you get a little bit more space as you move up. So sophomores mostly live in suite style housing. This is actually the common room in my suite right now. And so you have 6-person, 8-person, oh, actually no, 4-person, 6-person, 8-person, and 9-person suites. And it's basically you and one other person with 4, 3, are 5 different rooms, and then you get a common area with like a little kitchenette. I'm sorry, I'm like looking over to like what I'm describing because it's right here. You get like a little kitchenette area with a dining table. You can decorate it as you see fit. And as you go into your junior and senior year, a lot of people have 3 years of housing, so mostly junior year, they move off campus. And then a lot of our seniors come back on campus for senior year, where you can have apartment style housing those last 2 years as well.
So living in an apartment or a suite, that's better.
Yes, it's amazing, 10 times better.
So, I mean, do you have a bathroom?
Oh yeah, sorry, forgot about that. You're no longer, best part, you no longer have communal bathrooms. You get your own personal bathrooms in suites and apartments. Sorry.
No, and you know, that's the case for a lot of students. And then you talked about some students live off campus. Fran, you were saying before we get started that you're going to be off campus next year. Can you just talk a little bit about that process, and then like in terms of location relative to campus, like where might BC students be?
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually had 4 years of housing guaranteed to me when I received my acceptance letter from BC, but most of my current roommates didn't. And I wasn't super tied to the idea of living on campus junior year. So I decided that for me, what was best was living off campus in a house right near all of the other Boston College off-campus houses. So most of BC's off-campus houses are clustered in this one neighborhood right next to BC's Brighton campus. So there are Boston College buses that run, it's the same bus or the same type bus that runs to Newton campus, also runs until 2 a.m. And so you can always hop on the bus and get to campus within a few minutes. Most of the neighborhoods are right off of Commonwealth Avenue, which is a street that runs right next to BC. And then, I mean, honestly, the walk isn't that bad either. I plan on walking most days because if you were to walk from the furthest house off campus in order to get to main campus, it would take you at most maybe 10 or 15 minutes. So it's not too far of a walk. And there's a strong off-campus community at Boston College because most juniors tend to live off campus. And then senior year, I plan to return to campus just like 95% of BC students.
And we'll look forward to welcoming you back when that time comes, Fran.
Thanks, Chris.
I know another thing we talked about as we were getting ready for tonight's program is we talked about that after students fill out their housing applications, they usually learn about opportunities to live on campus in a living and learning community. Theresa, you lived in one, and you know a little bit about them for first year students. Can you talk a little bit about what that experience was like for you and maybe some of the other LLCs, as we call them, living and learning communities on campus?
Yeah, of course. So last year I was in the Healthy Living community, which is a substance-free floor that promotes healthy relationships with food and exercise. And I was actually randomly placed on this floor with my roommate. And so coming in, I was a little nervous. I was like, what is this going to look like? I don't know if this will be a normal floor. What will this really look like? What I found from living and learning communities is that they are really focused on this community aspect. We had hoots, like Charlie was mentioning, but they were very focused on our relationship with food, exercise, and how to promote those healthy relationships within ourselves as we transition to college, but then also looking to support other students. So I really liked this community-based floor, and I loved all of the programming that my RA Linnea put on for us. And I feel that it really helped us bond as a community, and it's a great opportunity for students that are looking for that substance-free option. There are a lot of other living and learning communities as well, such as the multicultural learning community. There's one focused around leadership called the Shaw Living Community, and then an all-female living and learning community called Costco. And this is located in Costco Hall, which is the only all-female dorm on campus. And these are just a few. There's a lot of options to look for, and you can apply for them on the website, Living and Learning Communities at Boston College.
Wow, that was great. Perfect. Thanks, Theresa. So we should probably morph a little bit into the other big thing that you rely on us, other than to give you a warm place to sleep, you know, an address on campus, is we got to feed you. And everyone has opinions about what to eat and how the system works. So let's first do the transactional part. Like, how does the meal plan work at Boston College? Charlie, I'll turn to you. Just from a top-down view, like, how does Boston College's meal plan operate?
Yeah, so Boston College operates on an a la carte system. And so what that means is that everything in the I'm tripping up my words, in the dining hall is assigned a dollar value. And so what will happen is at the start of the year or at the start of the semester, your account is loaded with a certain amount of money. I believe the standard meal plan is like $2,500 a semester, roughly speaking. And so with everything being assigned a dollar value, it's kind of nice because everything is pretty, I would say, customizable. Like if I'm in between classes and I know I need a little snack before dinner, I can go into any of the dining halls and get, say, a bag of chips or an apple. And then my account is just debited for whatever dollar value that bag of chips or apple is assigned. And so there are two sorts of parts of the traditional mandatory meal plan. And so the one is the meal plan dollars, and that can be spent at the majority of our dining hall locations. There are 3 main dining halls that are open breakfast through dinner. We have a few that are open for, say, breakfast and lunch, etc. And then we have the residential dining bucks, which is $175 per semester. And with that money, that can be spent at more of our specialty locations, a lot of our cafes and coffee shops that serve Starbucks coffee, etc. That's where that money gets spent.
Okay, so that's the transactional part. Angie, is the food any good? Like, are we just talking about dinosaur shaped chicken nuggets every day? Or like, is there variety? Is it good? Is it high quality? Is it served well? Like, give me your take.
I have to say, like, the food is actually really good here. Honestly, I just went to dinner like right before this, and I had stuffed clams, and it was really delicious.
You had stuffed clams?
Stuffed clams.
On a college campus, you had stuffed clams.
Yes, it was absolutely delicious. There was also an oyster option, but I didn't get that today. But honestly, like, our food here is like really good. Like, just for lunch today, there was like a fried chicken sandwich, and they were like making it right in front of you. And so most of the time they have like our dining halls tend to have like a lot of different stations, and so they'll mostly have like a pasta option. There's salad bars, and just like grilled chicken is like a staple. Like, you'll have that at practically every meal, just to like give you some stability. But then they're also like, they'll switch it up. We'll have like barbecue ribs or like Nashville hot chicken. They sometimes do like cultural nights, and so we'll have like food from like Ecuador, from Japan, from China, just kind of switch it up. And the food here is actually really good.
All right, I buy it. I buy your take on that. Theresa, let me ask you this. So if there's a common, BC has very few flaws. It has flaws, not a lot. One of the flaws I think we have, and people tell me we have, is that we don't have this like comprehensive student center. Like, there are a lot of little things where people hang out and people gather and people socialize, but there's not like one big like student center where everybody goes for different things. That makes the dining halls that much more important to Boston College, because that's where you hang out and chill and talk to people and meet up. And I mean, do you buy that? Like, all these little cafes and cafeterias and places to eat, they kind of fill a small part of that role, because you probably do as much meeting and socializing and those things that you would in a student center or in other places on campus.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. That's a great way to put it. One of my favorite places to go and study or grab lunch with friends is Hillside Cafe, which is one of our smaller dining locations on campus. You can get Starbucks coffee made to order right at Hillside, and I will sit there for hours just working on my computer, and I always have at least 3 people come up to me while I'm sitting there, come up and chat, or sit down for a little and have a small conversation. So I definitely agree. The dining halls are a great way to bond with friends and meet. A lot of clubs will also have dinners together in the dining hall, and it is a great space to meet people and stay connected.
Fran, we were talking before this, and I want to get, the other day, we were at one of the admitted student events, and an admissions officer was giving out these cookies. And the cookies said, like, welcome to the class of 26. And someone came up to me and they said, are these nut free? And I figured they were nut free because that's just the way you do things when you don't know who's coming to eat your cookies. But I said, you stay right here. And I went downstairs. I was in the Heights room. So I went downstairs to lower, and I went back and talked to the chef, and I found the baker that actually made the cookie. And I talked to him and I was like, are these not free? He goes, of course they're not free. Like, I don't know who's eating them. So this is what so I found the person, and we were totally responsive, and like, they were so cool about the way that they were made, and it was all accessible. And I got the answer in like 45 seconds. Now, I know these are concerns that you had when you came to college about the preparation of food and how you were going to be able to maintain eating and, you know, being healthy here on campus. Talk a little bit about the responsiveness you've seen and how you've navigated the dining system, given what you've had to deal with.
Absolutely. So, like Teresa's dad was concerned about safety, my mom was absolutely petrified that I wouldn't eat food when I got to campus. I have some pretty strange and random food allergies, including gluten, as well as oats, sesame, etc. I could go on for a few minutes, but so I was, as you could imagine, pretty concerned when I came to campus. Before I came, I registered with the Office of Disability Services. I was matched with a dietitian through BC Dining, and I met with a dietitian before arriving to campus so she could work with me and understand my needs. I had two options. One was to have meals prepared for me in a separate allergen-free environment, so I can make sure I knew exactly what was going in, what I was going to get at a certain time each day. I have a roommate who does that, absolutely loves that. That works for him. I wanted something a little bit more flexible, so I decided to self-navigate. And BC Dining makes it actually surprisingly simple to do that. Online, they have a menu that's kept up to date, and they label every ingredient, every potential allergen. And if you are part of the allergy mail group for BC Dining, they'll email you ahead of time and tell you which meals have which allergens each week. It's really, really helpful to help me know which dining hall is going to have food that not only that I can eat, but that I can enjoy. But no matter what, there's always going to be something available for you. If you have one of the like big 8 or big 9 allergens, and like if gluten's your thing that you can't have, there's always one station at each dining hall that is just gluten-free. So there's nothing in any of the food that would have gluten. They even have gluten-free pasta sometimes. I could go on for hours, but honestly, if that's one of your concerns, I would say based on my experience, I wouldn't be super concerned. BC Dining is very good about it. And if you have any questions, like Chris said, you can always ask the person serving you your food, and they will be happy to grab a manager and help you figure out what is up.
The head of dining couldn't have done that any better, Fran. Well done. Thank you. Thank you. And I know how important it is. I mean, you're not alone. There are a lot of students that have to navigate this and are concerned about it. So thank you for that. You know, we also, you know, Angie, do you cook in your room? Do you have food in your room? Like, do you make mac and cheese when you're in a pinch? Do you make, like, what, you know, some first year students really don't have the capability to cook in their room. They shouldn't be cooking in their room. Don't cook in your room. But when you're an older student and you have some sort of, you know, modified kitchen or full kitchen, are you cooking in your room, Angie?
I have to say, like, my friends and I have, my roommates and I have gotten like really creative about how to, like, because we only have like a kitchenette, we don't have a full kitchen, so we've gotten really creative when it comes to like trying to cook. So we have a little mini griddle. Literally, it's like you can crack one egg in it and it will fill up. Like, that's how small it is. We've gotten really creative that I've baked holiday cookies on that griddle. We've made like little pancakes. We also have a waffle iron that I have used to make like a panini, because then we didn't have the griddle at first, so we just had a waffle iron. So I made a panini and it looked like a waffle, but it was absolutely delicious. And you have like a lot of storage and a lot of cabinets when you like go to suite style and have like a full kitchen, obviously. And so we have like a lot of snacks. We're really big on Oreos and really big on cup mac and cheese. Annie white cheddar, totally recommend. Annie's white cheddar mac and cheese cups. Best mac and cheese.
Angie, that's what we have in our house. And they're not a sponsor of this program at all, but that's what we have in the O'Brien house. And finally, on the subject of food, Charlie, even though BC dining is great, are there some places around Boston College that are favorites of BC students that supplement what we do on campus? What are the places that you see a lot of BC students go to, order from? Like what kind of things are around us that can, if you need a change of pace from what BC dining, if you need from stuffed clams, if you need something different than stuffed clams, what does BC students get?
Yeah, there are a couple of places that are real popular. We probably have just about every different food variety you could want nearby. I would say a big one, if you're just looking for something quick, is to go over to El Palone. It's a Mexican place, and you're able to get like a burrito, anything you could want in there. Very popular pizza place is Pino's Pizza. Got a great review a couple of years ago on Barstool, so that was fun to see. But they do have very, very good pizza. We have a lot of good pizza shops nearby. There's one right across the street from us called Crazy Doughs, but I know Pino's is the very popular one to be used. And then another great spot is White Mountain. Very good homemade ice cream right across the street from us on campus. And it's kind of fun when you go in because they have like some BC memorabilia in there from probably like 50 years ago, which is kind of cool to see like how much of a part of the community that location is. And so I feel like one of the big things for me during orientation before freshman year was a lot of people at the end of the day were like, we're going to go over to White Mountain and get ice cream. And that place was flooded with people during orientation because everyone was like, we're just going to go and hang out and just get some ice cream near campus. So there are a lot of nice options right nearby.
And ice cream is a great way to end our conversation. Let's all go have a bowl of ice cream after this, whether it's White Mountain or something closer to you. Guys, this was awesome. We talked about pretty much every angle of the big step of moving to campus and living with someone and living away from home and what the expectations are and who are the people that will support you and what our options are on campus, and then how you can make it work for you, and then obviously the food, which again sounds like a cliche subject, but something that really matters. You live here for 4 years, the food better be better than okay, and again, stuffed clams tells me that we're doing okay here at Boston College with the little White Mountain at the end of the day. My panelists here have put their email addresses in their little camera box, which shows a willingness to keep the conversation going. And whether you're watching this live or you're watching this subsequent to the time that we're taping it, reach out. We're happy to help. If these are the kind of questions and subjects that are really causing you anxiety about coming to college in a few months, don't let that linger. We might be able to nip something in the bud really quickly. And our panelists did a great job in their willingness to give you the honest truth about life here and help brainstorm what could work better. I mean, this is real. This is what Boston College students do. And this is what we want to do to welcome you to Boston College. That's our show for tonight. We've got 2 more of these. Tomorrow, we have a webinar talking about academics, study abroad, research, some of the great decisions that students make under the realm of academics. And then next week, our final of these admitted student panels will be a seniors only panel, talking to students who've had their whole 4 years at Boston College and hearing about how they've changed and how they've reflected on all the great experiences they've had and what might be next for them. So we hope all these are helpful. My panel did such a great job. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. And for all of you that are showing, watching us, good luck with your choice. And if you made your choice, we'll see you in a residence hall soon. Good night, everybody.